May the words of my lips and the meditation of our hearts be now and always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. To be a cultivator is to engage in a long-term and laborious activity. It usually involves a range of hard physical tasks, the application of a body of knowledge, commitment of time, often of money too, and always a measure of faith and hope. Faith, when you plant seeds in the spring, faith that they will come up, and also that they won't then be hoovered up by passing slugs or pigeons or the like before those plants properly get growing. Hope that adverse weather, frost, hail, drought, won't then damage those plants or deprive them of produce. Hope that the flowers or the form of those plants will give enjoyment. Hope that fruit will be harvested and in due time enjoyed. A lot of this work and care, year by year, even in the best cultivated plots, is wasted. It's fruitless. And therefore, anyone who has engaged in growing things is guaranteed to have experienced disappointment. It's also worth pointing out that for many farmers and many gardeners, cultivation isn't born out just of faith and hope, but also, if we complete Paul's triplet, it's an act of love. These processes can come from and they can speak to places deep within. And so the failures and the losses that do come in any season can be heartbreaking. We had two stories of cultivation. The prophet Isaiah's love song concerning his vineyard. It's not a far-fetched analogy for the relationship between God and the people of his covenant, the people of Israel and Judah. All that love and effort and care, century by century. And what did he get in return? Bitter fruits, all wasted. And in the story, the vine grower snaps and feels like destroying it all. Well, this refers to a period 600 or so years before the time of Jesus. A story about a fruitless relationship between a loving God and his negligent people. And it's obvious that this story in the Hebrew Scriptures was in mind whenever was told this second parable, our New Testament lesson from Matthew, about the landlord, his vineyard, and his tenants. There are differences between these two stories. Of course there are. It would be the same story otherwise. And in this later story, it's not the lack of fruit which is the problem. It's the disrespect and the viciousness of the tenants. So the targets of this story are not the unfruitful vines, but the tenants themselves. And in Matthew's Gospel, it's evident that the intention behind those tenants is the Jewish religious authorities, the ones who would go on to kill God's own Son and take the responsibility upon themselves. The parable points us forward to the death of Jesus. But it goes on to point us forward to the embrace into the community of the risen Christ of all peoples. In this little story come all the excruciating costs and the extraordinary reward which we see through this strange week, this Holy Week. I come back to where I began. Each of these two stories begins with the loving and costly effort of cultivation. In each, in its different way, the investment of faith, of hope and love is fruitless. But the God without whom neither story would have any meaning is so invested in what he has made that his love cannot be balked. It is only for us to respond. Amen.